Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Beyond Max Q. I'm your host, Mollie Jahner. I am joined today by Jen Maldonado. What an amazing woman she is. I am so excited to interview her today. She is founder, amazing businesswoman. She's a mentor, and she really focuses on helping other women invest and grow and scale and just really step into all the cool things that is there for them in this world. And so with that, Jen, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself a little bit and talking about what you're building, that would be great.
Yes, I'm excited to be with all of you today, Molly, and your audience, because I'm always excited to work with other women who are doing great things. And I know that you are shifting a lot of areas when it comes to move capital, which is what I love. Moving capital, whether it is through teaching women how to invest passively or showing women how to raise capital for different projects in real estate. We haven't ventured yet to the business side, but our focus is how do you really move capital with a strategy and soul? Because our
Mm.
main philosophy is that you don't have to sacrifice your earnings and your profits and your soul. You can have both. You just have to be really smart on how you do it. And yeah, that's what we have been building and building a community to raise capital. Different women investing in women, not only with money, but also resources, mentorship. And that's why I'm excited to hang out and get to spend
Yeah.
time with women like you, Molly.
I love that. I love the soul part. I think that's so important. And I would love for you to talk about Catch Your Spark. So would you mind talking about like what you're doing and all the cool things coming up?
Yes, for sure. Right now, what we have been focusing, besides creating workshop to show women how to raise capital, and I always have these challenges. Let's train you to raise $1 million in 30 days for your real estate business. What we're doing for Cash for Spark beyond extending the community and finding other girls or women that we want to mentor, we are putting a new fund together, a fund that is going to be dedicated to invest in real estate in different real estate assets as far as we have something that we're impacting. We have these framework that we put together and it focused only not in managing the risk of any project, right? But also how do you take this project? How do you optimize the project in a
Mhm.
way that give you the best returns? While we are making changes in the community, whether it's working with judicial system, people who have made mistakes and they want to go back out there and become a productive citizen, or homeless people trying to get out of the homeless situation. And now we have some ventures that with a few nonprofits focusing in the foster care kids
Mhm.
that not only show them that there's different ways that they can keep growing and that they also have a support system, but they're showing by examples who they can become in the journey, right, of self discovery and new beginnings, and heal through that challenging process that they have been into. So
Yes. Well, and you've been a founder and you're founding this business. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like?
founding a business,
Yes.
oh my god, I think it gets pretty adventurous, Molly. I think a lot of founders are dreaming with the idea of what they want to do. I used to be an engineer. I retired at 32. I was working with great companies and learned a lot in the
Mhm.
journey. But then when I jumped into my business, it was a completely new concept. It
Yes.
doesn't it doesn't matter how smart you are, you have to learn new skills. You have to approach becoming a founder and an entrepreneur with courage, with
Mhm.
curiosity, because what you think you know, it's going to change completely. It's going
Yes.
to evolve, right? So being a founder, it was very challenging at first because now you don't have money that you're going to be using to, if you're not raising money, right, and you don't know how to do that, it's on your own. And that process of starting with no capital comes all of out of your budget, right, and you start earning your savings. And if you don't quickly adapt and you don't quickly focus on a mission and results, your company can fail pretty quick. Now
Yes.
let's go to the other part, cool part. Because once you find that mission and that light and that focus, and you have the soul and desire to go into a mission,
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you the transformation that you have, not only your finances, because a lot of people start with the finances side, but in your soul as a human being, how it unleashes the best version of yourself. If you decide to embrace the journey of transformation to deliver the mission that you came this earth to deliver, right? It's very rewarding. And still, you have to learn all the skills that are required to be a founder, to run a business, and find the right people to help you
Yes.
run that business. I think that those are very important factors, Molly.
No, no, that's well said. And I know you focus on raising capital. I would love for all the founders in the audience for you to talk about like, what does that look like? How do I get started if I don't have anything in the bank?
Yes, I mean, to your point, I think there's the financial world, the regular world that we know,
Hmm.
the financing with loans, traditional lending, SBA loans, and all of these other great tools that can be accessible for people. But
Hmm.
if you don't have history and you don't have a strong financial foundation that can back up what you're
Yeah.
about to fund, in general, the institutional lenders won't open their books. They
Right.
won't open their checkbooks and assist you. And as a women too, we have other challenges in the industry. I still don't understand why. Maybe we're trying to figure this out together.
Yes.
But what I have learned is that it's in the process of finding the funding, you start finding a lot of people that can be aligned with your mission.
Yes.
And I think that when people are raising capital, they're so focused and write me that check, give me that notebook, give me that money so I can go in the go. And sometimes that can backfire too if you don't find what I call aligned capital. Aligned capital is about finding someone who believes in your mission, who invests in you. And don't get me wrong, you need to know your numbers, right? But it's a combination of one, who you are as a human
Mhm.
being, and is someone capable of investing, not capable because a lot of people are capable.
Mhm.
Do you have hunger? Do you have the discipline to take this project through the line? And I think
Mhm.
that's you as a human being. First, you have to believe that. You have to train for that. You have to let the version of yourself to show that in
Mhm.
order to transfer that certainty to whoever is going to fund your deal. People talk about there's no money. I mean, even if I think about the US economy, Molly, there's over $3 trillion just in
Yes.
retirement accounts, right? You think about that, and a
Yeah.
percentage of that can create a big shift in your business. How do you tap into that? That's what people want to know. But
Yeah.
it starts with an inner transformation and a belief that you can take this project through the line. And after that, of course, all the technical stuff. How do you structure a deal? How do you understand what the investors are looking for in your industry? What are the common practices? And how you take that, meet with the right people who is aligned, get your deal funded, and how do you run your company after that? It's an entire process. And I don't think people understand the journey, right? It's
Yeah.
not like write me a check, it's that easy. And I think a lot of people underestimate the amount of effort, commitment,
Mhm.
discipline, desire on what it takes to go through the capital
Yeah.
raise process.
Well, and you're not even talking just about like unicorns or companies that hope to exit. Like, I mean, you focus on um, investing in real estate, investing in boring businesses. I know we've talked about the boring business, but the businesses that aren't like, oh, I'm in an AI and I'm making XYZ, right? Like, hey, maybe it's just something that makes a lot of money and you want to start it and you want to work on it. So, can you talk a little bit about what that looks like? Because I know there's a lot of founders who, maybe it's not software. Maybe it has nothing to do with that. Everyone talks about tech. Everyone is focused on that, but what if it's not? Maybe it's an accounting firm, maybe it's being a property management company. I don't know. What would you say to that?
Yes, And I guess, or what I'm going to say is the capital raising process is pretty much the same process until the point that you get to the numbers.
Right.
At the end, how you evaluate the project, and I'm going to call the project because it can be real estate, it can be tech, it can be, as you mentioned, accounting firms, you can be acquiring, you can be starting up.
Mhm.
All of them have different risks at different times. And when you are deciding which capital align with your desire, it will also depend on where you are in your business.
Mhm.
Are you generating income or not?
Mhm.
How do you approach the investor at different stages? Because the investor who is going to fund your startup, Molly, is not going to be the same investor that might give you $100 million to expand your company and turn it into $1 billion, whether you think you're an unicorn or not.
Mhm.
And that's the part that gets pretty interesting. I love businesses too. And when I sit with an entrepreneur, besides the numbers, I want to see their vision about this business because
Mhm.
that's going to tell me how much this person can grow this company. And
Yeah.
that's going to determine the amount of check or the
Mhm.
partnership that I want with that person. Because if this person only have the capability to take it from point A to point B where it generates $5 million,
Mhm.
$10 million, when you start talking about growing into the tech industry and you talk about the $100 million and the type of investors that write those checks, the conversations are completely different. And you
Yes.
know that if you're not capable to take it there, either you have to exit or you have to bring someone else as a partner in order to help you drive a vision that maybe it might not be even your vision. And that's what it gets pretty interesting because sometimes just looking what you want to do with your company and
Mhm.
what you can do with your company can take you in a completely different direction. So I think that that's the fundamentals when you're raising capital in any company, regardless what it is. It's the same game with different numbers painted in a different way. Let's call it that way.
Well, I love that. I know you talk about the numbers a lot because you're an engineer and you focus on those. Can you talk through just kind of at a high level for some of the founders who are just getting started? What is a term sheet? What should it look like? What are some
Yes.
red flags? Because I think it'll be helpful.
Yes, for sure. I mean, there's so many. There's
I
so many.
know.
So, but let's keep it simple, high level simple. I always tell people a term sheet, it's something that you and I'm painting a picture on how we want to get to terms on how
Mhm.
you and I will get compensated,
Right.
right? Which it means if I'm a private lender lending you money, not becoming a partner, I'm going to have certain terms that are going to be interest that are going to charge you for how long until when, which normally for business companies, they don't tend to have a lot of business, a lot of lenders that they want to lend. At least you're generating cash flow already.
Yes.
So, what you're going to see is a term sheet that might have some ownership of the company. You will have to give away some control. So, when
Right.
you're raising capital, and sometimes I tell these to people all the time, raising capital doesn't have to be the answer all the time. Sometimes you bootstrap and you try to handle what you have with what
Mhm.
you make. But when you decide you need that capital, you want that capital, then you need to figure out how much you're willing to give away and
Mhm.
make that decision. So the term sheets can reflect that. But that's how I'm gonna explain it. It has
Okay.
numbers. Yes, it have a period of time. Yes, it has normally exit strategy. It depends on the type of business. In terms of the due diligence, and do you have any specific questions, Molly? Because I can go take this in many
No, I,
directions.
I mean, I think for me, founders especially, like they jump at that first check, and then all of a sudden their cap table is a disaster, or they all of a sudden have diluted quite a bit and they've given a ton away. I mean, what are some best practices in your mind for just getting started, but you need that capital to keep going?
Yes, for sure. I mean, best practice is first you need to figure out what you're willing to give away. You need to know because if you're not very clear about that, you're going to attract the wrong capital. And I think that that's a great time to start deciding how I want other people to be involved in my business. Because when you're asking for capital at certain price point, some of them want to have a say, and you need
Yep.
to be okay with that. And it's pretty normal. So first, decide what are you willing to give away, right? You have to be very decisive on that. The second thing is always have your financial statements
Mhm.
flawless. And the reason for that is how you can make or break a deal is when you don't have your books and in good shape.
Yes.
I'm talking about your cash flow statements. I'm talking about your profit and loss. I'm talking about your balance sheet. I'm
Taxes.
talking about if you were going to invest in yourself, what would you look into it? So, more than anything, before you go out there, you need to make sure that your financial statements are in good shape. I always tell people, like, you're going to sell me an idea. I'm going to look into the numbers. At least you are in a startup. And if you are in a startup, I'm going to look at this deal completely different because now I am taking the biggest risk
Mhm.
investing in someone's word and someone's capability that
Yes.
haven't been proven in numbers. And I think that when you're starting, it's pretty important that you understand that, right?
Mhm.
What the venture capitalists, what the angel investors are doing, they're figuring out is this is a person I can invest on, and what is
Right.
my risk investing on this person. Once you have running is just your financial statement needs to be very good, right?
Mhm.
Because then we're going to dig into it and we're going to figure out. If you don't know, find help. I mean,
Yes.
if you can get it from the CPA, you can get it from advisors, you can even go to a university, work with the team. And in fact, I have one of my investors that's what he did. He went and his son was part of a business school, and he brought the entire team, and the entire team has spent a lot of time sharing with him how to improve his financial statements. And not
Very cool.
only that, it helped him specifically on growing his business because they point out many things that they were missing.
Yep.
And in fact, these also help them not to have go out there and raise the
Yes.
capital.
Yes.
So that was one of the best things I have seen. Just fresh perspective on your business and your financial statements can let you know what other things you can do before you decide to give away a percentage of your company, especially
Yeah.
when you're starting. Now, if you want someone to help you and bring the vision and bring other skills, then that's a different story. So at
Mhm.
that point, you just need to figure out, be the candidate that can help you move you from point A to point B or point C. So
Mhm.
now you're talking about people skills, not only money, not only a checkbook. I'm talking
Yes.
about people skills. So I think that clarity will help any
Mhm.
entrepreneur make better decisions, especially when it comes to capital raising, so they can decide if this is the best thing for me right now. And if yes, what are the things I need to consider before I make this important
Right.
decision?
Well, and you help women with this, right? You teach classes and you have education. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, for sure. I spend most of the time in real estate where we don't teach real estate specifically. What I teach people is how they're going to scale their business in real estate by bringing the capital. And we
Got it.
show them how you need to underwrite differently, meaning how you need to make your numbers differently when you are planning to put funds together or money together from investors, because it's a different game. And when you're doing only operations, that's the easy budget, is what I call it, right? If you have the experience and that's
Yep.
something you can do pretty quick. But when you are negotiating with investors, to your point, Molly, it's a completely different thing. I spend the time explaining them how do you look at a deal, how do you de-risk a deal, especially in real estate, at the
Yes.
most you can, right? With the predictable things.
Right, right.
Because,
Stuff
hello.
noted.
But I teach them that. We spend a lot of time in that technical side, but also we spend some time in the other side of your inner drive, which
Yes.
means who you are, Is
Uh-huh.
there any blocks stopping you from becoming the best version of yourself? Because people forget that when you're growing a business, the
Yeah.
business for me is a reflection of the owner or the leader. And if you don't have that pretty aligned, that's going to be very challenging and things can turn into a completely different business. And also how you pitch a deal, right?
Yes.
How do you transfer that certainty? How you communicate in a way that investors understand what is your idea, what is the
Mhm.
risk, why they should bet on you. And it's
Yes.
not about being needy or anything, it's just being aligned. And
Mhm.
how you close those investors and how you move forward from there. Because I think, Molly, a lot of people get very excited about, I have this marketing system and I'm attracting all of these awesome investors and I'm closing. But what happened after the closer? How do you extend those relationships? How do you really nurture and build even more? I don't
Yeah.
think that a lot of people spend time figuring out that they have a golden egg
Mhm.
after
Yes.
the fact, right? That's where the real magic happened. That's how I scale my business. I did it once, focus on once, let's do it great. And then once I did that, I just replicate and it just became this thing where I didn't even market to attract other investors because they were referring their friends, their family, their network. And I think that a lot of people miss that. So that's the picture. I teach the capital raising in 5 steps, of course, is intense,
Yes.
but I love it. I love it. I love it. It mixes
You can
business with
tell, and I love that you
relationship.
talk with your hands because I do too, and so it's like it's good. I love
Yes.
this. No, and I think your energy is so great, and you're helping, you're educating, and that's so needed. And so no, thank you very much. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to share with the founders in the audience?
Don't right now, except that I have some books coming. We actually did one of them that came out. We tested. Now we are doing a few additions, but one of them is She Who Moves Capital. Pretty soon we're going to be sharing with all of you. And Molly, I will make sure that your audience have the first shot as soon as it comes
Yay!
out,
That's great.
because we know it can be very helpful for a lot of people trying to learn, especially women trying
Yes.
or learning how to raise capital for their projects. So I think that that's what we haven't talked about.
Amazing. Well, that and then what are you currently reading? Are you reading that book? You wrote it, so maybe not.
Well, I wrote that book. Yes, I wrote that book. It was an experiment. I'm gonna share with this with you. I use AI, maybe techie kind of thing.
There you
Of
go.
course, AI doesn't bring the spirit, it doesn't bring the reality and the
Mhm.
heart and the humanity that sometimes a book need in order to guide you. But it was a pretty great experience. It's like talking to your best friend, right? If you have played a lot of time with
Mhm.
AI, and it was so interesting to have those conversations and telling AI, what are you talking about? That's not what I said. Is that what you heard? That's not what I mean. How can we clarify this? So it was really fun. It was really fun. But I wrote the book. I wrote the stories and every detail in there. It was like a really fun conversation with AI. The other side of me.
I love that. No, that's amazing. I'm gonna do link everything in the description and people can reach out to you. You have a podcast as well, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we do
So
have a podcast. We
yeah.
have it right now in YouTube, right? We're going to expand to podcasts pretty soon, but it's at Jen Maldonado, Jen and Maldonado, Maldonado.
Perfect.
And there we talk about different founders and we bring many women that have started their own businesses, talk about what they do to support other women too. And for women to get inspired and get to see other women making it happen, Molly, that, that deals with a lot of their challenges too.
I love that. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today. I'll link everything in description and I just appreciate so much you sharing your wisdom. And if you don't know Jen, go reach out and connect her on LinkedIn. She's teaching so many cool things about not just moving capital, but just doing business and doing business well. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Molly.